All right, cool. So for everybody that's going to watch the recording and for the people live here, so this is going to be our weekly Facebook ads training, and I'm going to try to do this weekly as much as I possibly can, guys. Like at a very minimum, we're going to do once every other week, but I'd like to, especially out of the gate, just kind of hit on weekly because I really want to create a mini community. This is not something obviously that I'm charging for. This is not something this is just an added bonus that Josh and I thought would be valuable to help you guys come up with ways that obviously that we're selling it, positioning it. We want to be in line with our partners, right? So obviously, if we have a strategy or we're pushing something and we think it's a better way to do things, then having you guys aligned with that and pushing it the same way makes a lot of sense. So we want to do that. And then the other thing I want to do is just create like a mini community because I know within the seven-figure agency, I personally get a lot of benefit, not only from like when the mentors are talking or, Josh or Jeff is doing a session or something like that, but when like, Chris chimes on and he's like, hey, I just got off a strategy call and the guy said this and that, you know what I mean? Like I learned more from that kind of real practical, real world stuff. So basically that's going to be the kind of format of these calls. I want to spend like maybe the first 30 minutes just kind of going through and just, touching on a topic. Like today, I want to talk about like the idea of like selling this as a system versus just as an ads management, right? And how to break that down and how to really get people's, how to use a PowerPoint like this and get their head thinking about it. But then I kind of want to leave the last 30 minutes more for like questions, more for like, all right, guys, I got a call tomorrow. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, right? And just have like that peer feedback and peer accountability and everything. And I think we can create like a little community within our client base that we're all doing the same thing. We're all what you're doing, Mike, is going to benefit Chris and everything across the board. So yeah, that's my little overview. So that's the first training here. So what I'm going to do at the end of this presentation, don't worry about taking notes or doing anything because everyone's getting this presentation at the end. A lot of the materials that I'm going to make, as you can see with this one right here. I use like my color scheme and things like that, but everything is generic, right? So even when we get down into this, all of this messaging and everything is generic. I want people to take like swipe and deploy resources, just like we're doing in seven-figure agency. So as I'm creating things, we're going to send you these. We can send you the links to the Canva files. We can, you know what I mean? So you can actually go in and just make some tweaks right there. But, anything that we do, I'm going to create with that in mind, right? Where it's like a white label type thing where you can kind of just take it and swipe and deploy. All right. So the first thing that I've been doing is, so this idea of like stop running Facebook ads, right? And I think like, the first thing that we want to do with our prospects is we really want to get their heads around the idea of like what Facebook ads are and what they're not and how that compares to like intent search. Because a lot of people that are thinking about running Facebook ads maybe ran Google ads before. And their expectation, the only thing they know is, hey, I run a Google ad, someone searches for, chiropractor near me. I pop up, they click the link, they go to a landing page, they call, I get a converted client, right? Whereas Facebook ads, as you guys know, and doing them for your own and stuff, it's a little bit different. We're trying to catch all audiences. We're trying to catch the people that do have intent searches, right? So we're trying to retarget. We're trying to make sure that we're showing up in the feeds where the intent is likely there. But we also are trying to create an audience that didn't know that they were an audience yet, right? So these are people that are going to be in our targets. They're going to see, restoration projects. They're going to see those kitchen remodeling things, and it kind of gets them thinking, right? So, the last piece of Facebook, and this is the one thing that I really, really try to stress with people, and I think like we as Facebook marketers miss the mark on this because the first couple conversations with you guys and stuff, I hadn't even really dove into this and brought this up, but think about brand awareness when you're selling Facebook ads, in addition to just lead conversion and everything like that, right? So, I'm talking to a guy here locally. It's Brevard County. He's a Brevard County attorney. And he competes against John Morgan, okay, in accidents, right? So he'll run some TV spots, but he runs his TV spots at like 11 p.m. at night, and he runs because it's all he can afford, right? But he thinks that he has to do it because, and I'm like, well, listen, why wouldn't you just run, if you're just looking for commercials, just for branding and stuff like that, why wouldn't you run 30-second commercial ads to Facebook, just members of Facebook, an audience on Facebook, Brevard County and things like that. I'm like, I was showing him his impression costs. I'm like, you can get almost like 100,000 video views for like $100. Like, where could you get that on the internet? Like, how much does that billboard on the side of that bus that I see driving up and down 192, how much does that cost you? Oh, $5,000 a month. Okay, well, do you know how much branding you could do for $5,000 a month on Facebook? So I think the one thing is like getting their heads around, listen, Facebook obviously we're looking for leads, we're looking for direct converts and things like that. But if I'm a small kitchen remodeling company and I'm targeting all of Augusta, Georgia, and I'm looking in the area, like, why do I not want my ads and just things showing up and things like that to people that aren't sure, right? It's just a brand awareness. So I think getting people's heads around, because now you're telling people, hey, yeah, you're committing to spend maybe the $2K a month, $1K management fee with me and another, $1K spend, right? So you're committing the $2K a month. Well, I could convince somebody that there's value just in the branding for $2K a month, right? Just in the actual reach and touches and things that they're going to get, that would be worth the $2K a month as compared to other methods and forms of advertising. Does that all make sense? Like, just in terms of like the brand awareness and the advertising aspect and how to tie those couple things together?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is where I say, okay, so before we go any further, we're going to stop running Facebook ads, right? Because we don't just want to run an ad and then hope for the best and hope we get a conversion. We really, really want to implement a Facebook ad system. And then obviously we're going to show them like what the difference is here. So when we talk about creating the system, guys, this is basically what we're doing with that agency quick start package and just everything that goes into there. Now we've been trying to even, within ourselves kind of develop like what's the best way to do this and launch. And what we're seeing is getting people to commit to this 3-month upfront, getting all the creative, made up front and all that kind of stuff is the way to go, right? So it's 1,000% selling this as that system, as that package is better. How you guys do that, and that's why we have it set up where we can say, hey, let's break these up into 3 pays and things like that, right? Because we want to be able to work with you in terms of, I don't want to limit you and make them commit to your whole system for 3 months up front, right? So we'll work with you, but the idea is to get them to at least commit to the 3 months, and it's good for you guys too, because you don't really, it's going to work the first month. I mean, I think you got, Chris, I think you're still new, but Mike, you got leads week 1, Don got like 17 leads week 1, you know what I mean? So you can have a lot of success early on, but you're going to see the ebbs and flows, right? So you're going to get a few successes, then you might have a little bit of a dip down and stuff. So you really want them to commit to this system. And then really this is where you're going to sell the value, right? So this is where like, I'll say, hey, listen, just in the messaging and the creative part of it, I'm asking, for let's say you're saying, hey, this is $1,500 a month startup and $1,000 a month for 3 months, right? And you say just in the 1 and 2 messaging and creative alone, that's basically where you're getting your money's worth. The consultation that I'm going to provide to help you really dial in your messages. And, obviously we have the proven sales scripts and the things like that you're going to use, and you're going to, just kind of formulate those. But there's a lot of thought that goes into that. There's a lot of intellectual property. There's a lot of A/B testing that's behind that messaging that they're getting for free, right? They're getting the free benefit. So I always say, listen, the messaging and you dial that in, that alone is worth the setup fee. And just the amount of creative that we give. If you were individually going to do all these videos and these little Canva ads and all that kind of stuff, you'd spend $1,000 just in the creative alone, right? So really sell that value up front. And then the other way that we position that them getting a system is like, listen, we do this on your platform. When you're buying the messaging, the creative, everything, you own it, right? So if after the 3 months, you're like, hey, this isn't the right fit, this, that, and the other thing, I don't want you to walk away from this relationship feeling like you just wasted 3 months worth of spend, right? You're going to have all these assets. You can use them in other placements. You can use them for future things. You can try other Facebook ads if you want to down the road, but there's going to be a lot of things that you can use. You can put them on YouTube. There's different things that you can do that are going to help you benefit. Then I really, so then basically, I'm not going to bore you with kind of reading this, but this is just basically, and guys, the thought process behind this is really to have something that you can just send to somebody that's just like, hey, so what do I get when I buy this system? What do I do, right? So this kind of breaks down each phase of the step. And then down at the bottom here is like, hey, what's actually included in your system, right? So the video editing, closed captions, stop the scroll techniques, the onboarding call. This is just really what's bolstering up all the value, right? These are all the assets and everything that we're doing. But these pieces are really the part where it really breaks down. So what are we doing when we're doing this, right? So, custom audience build, develop the creative, creating the messaging. So when we talk about custom audience build, you kind of have to dial this in per client, right? Because what it is for lawyers might be different than what it is for someone looking for kitchen remodeling, and what it might be, So what I would say, Mike, I'm going to pick on you for a second, just with the kitchen remodeling and everything. I would say something like, listen, what we need to do is we need to first find people who may be interested in having kitchen remodeling. And how do we do that, right? So we're going to put out a very large, broad target, before and after type style video. We're going to put a messaging style video. We're going to put like a long form sales letter. We're just going to try to find that person who stops scrolling for 5, 15, 20 seconds and says, you know what? Maybe they're interested in a kitchen remodeling. Maybe they just thought that the, spokesperson was pretty on it. I don't know, but they stopped scrolling for a reason, right? They engaged with that ad for a reason. So now we're going to retarget them and we're going to try to make them a buyer. So what you really want to focus on when you're talking about your audience build, we don't really have like a lead in force list. We don't really have something that we can do. They don't really have a customer list, right? So what we're going to say is, what is your average, what locations do you really want to focus in on? What's your average buyer? What's the profile of the average buyer? Is it, a married family with $200,000 in income with this, right? Really try to help them figure that out so we can really target certain zip codes and things like that, because we don't just want to say, hey, we're just going to target all of Georgia with the same messaging and stuff, right? We want to target the zip codes that are most likely to do those things. So that's where we talk about that. But this is where the leverage the AI part really comes in, is where we say, listen, we don't want to just guess and say, hey, everybody that lives in these zip codes that, have this education and have this are the ones that should see conversion ads, right? We don't believe in that. We think that the people that are actually showing interest in your product or service are the ones that should be seeing conversion ads. And that's where we leverage the AI. And this is where you really start to talk about, people ask sometimes, why is my fee as much or even more in some cases than what my spend is, right? Usually on Google, it's the opposite. I might spend $10,000 a month with Google and I pay $1,000 a month to manage it. So why is it opposite on Facebook? And the two reasons I always say is, number one, so much more goes into the actual creative and the actual strategy and that part than just Google ads. Google ads are pretty much going to be set it and forget it for the most part. You're dialing it in each month, but you're not A/B testing long form message, short form message. You're not A/B testing videos. You're not A/B, all these things that go into the Facebook ad system. So that's number one. Why do you pay us more than what you pay Facebook? And number two, I always tell people, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. It's just we're really good at running Facebook ads, right? So there's a lot of people that'll come to you and say, listen, it's $1,000 a month and we want $3,000 a month or $5,000 a month spend, because they just want to run conversions ads against everybody in their audience, paid 3 times what they should be paying for that price. It's all a bid exchange, right? So there's different methods, right? So what we say is we take a method that we're really getting into the targeting, we're really lasering it in. We really want to have a good ROI with your people. We don't just want to spend $5,000 and hope for the best, right? We really want to know that. So my job, and the reason that you're spending more than you are spending on your Facebook ads, is just that reason, right? I can set it up where you could just spend $5,000 a month on Facebook and just show ads to everybody and just hope for the best. Or I can dial it in where I can limit you to spending $600 to $1,000 a month, but get as good or better results because we're really dialing in and using the AI and really using the audience. So that's just a way to really kind of bolster up that value a little bit, if you will. Then the other thing I think that's really, really important is when we get down to, conversion, right? So this is where we start talking about things like the landing pages. This is where we start, because again, we're talking about the system. We're not just saying, hey, we're running a Facebook ad and it goes to the homepage of your website and we hope that they call the number on there. No, we know the exact landing page they go to. We know if they're calling, if they're submitting a thing. We know, we look at, we consult with you and come up with ideas. What are things that are working in similar niches? $500 off for this type thing. You know what I mean? What are types of offers that are working and things like that? And really just trying to come in and dial that in with people. And then the other part about the conversion that I always talk about is that it's the most expensive type of ads on Facebook, right? And this is why you don't run conversion ads against cold traffic. That's like, kind of like there's certain scenarios where that does make a little bit of sense if you're just warming up an audience or you're doing something, right? But in most case scenarios, you don't want to do that. It's a waste of spend. If you don't have your audience built out yet, you might do that just to try to get some leads going for the client in the very beginning. But overall, it's part of your overall strategy. You want all your conversion ads, you want everything like that, all your traffic going specifically to people that have watched videos, that have engaged, that have gone to a landing page, those type of things. And then, this is where we spend probably the bulk of dialing it in, right? Like in the beginning, we're like, hey, what's stopping the scroll? What's getting them to do this? At this point, it's like, what's getting them to take action? This is why Josh has really been pressing everybody about getting those videos on the home pages and things like that, right? The reason for that, guys, is that we're doing this exact same program that we're doing for you for 17 other people right now. And for the 14 of them that have a video on the homepage, we're seeing the metrics that it's outperforming almost 2 to 1. You know what I mean? So that's where, we get the benefit of this aggregated data to say, listen, this is working over here, this should work over here, and put that together. So, really just focusing people on, listen, anyone can get someone to stop the scroll, can get them to click on something or whatever, but that's not an engaged lead. Like you guys are looking for a prospect, a lead, somebody that's going to buy your product and service that you can attribute a direct ROI to. Really tracking and dialing in the conversion part is how we do that. And then the last part is really talking about the follow-up piece and just saying, like, the biggest mistake that people make when they start out by running Facebook ads is they have no system for what they're going to do with their leads and their nurture and everything like that, right? And this is where, you guys as marketers and everything can even add more value to your client and show them things and just say, listen, after this, hey, why don't we work on an email sequence that we should send out to everybody on a monthly newsletter or something, right? So this is opportunities for upsells because you're creating all these warm prospects, you're creating this warm audience. So not only do we want to retarget them with ads, which we will continuously do, what are other ways that we can reach out and follow up and do things? And just showing people like, hey, we have this automatic appointment engine. We have this scheduler. We can hook it up to a direct calendar if you want to. We can have people, you know what I mean? And like really showing them all the different capabilities really brings it back to the idea that this is a system. Like anybody can go in and boost a post on Facebook. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about implementing a marketing system that will drive consistent leads on a monthly basis, right? And that's, I think, the goal of this presentation and the goal of sending this to somebody and, post and everything like that is just to really get their head around that they're buying into a system. They're not buying into, and like what I've done, like literally, because I had one guy that was, he was trying to, well, if you just want to do this for me and this, maybe I'll just have you boost some posts and do the, and like trying to like get me to downsell. Now everybody knows me. I don't downsell. Like we come up with fair pricing. We'll believe what it is. It is what it is. I'm not going to negotiate the price. I'm not going to do those type things. But this guy was definitely like, well, what if I did this and stuff? But, I was just able to stand on the fact that I'm like, listen, it's not worth it because we invest so much into a Facebook ad system. We put so much into this. You're getting so much value from all these different pieces that trying to strip it apart and do this, doing that. Like as soon as you start stripping apart, they're like, well, just run my ads and just do. So what I ended up telling the guys, I was like, listen, what you're sounding like is you really just need someone to like show you how to boost a post. That's really what you sound like. So why don't we just jump on a 15-minute call, you screen share, and I'll show you how to boost a post. I'll actually walk you through the steps and we'll do it together. I'll do it for you. So kind of like really showing somebody where it's like, listen, if you think that running Facebook ads is as simple as just going in and boosting a post in your thing, let me help you do that. You don't have to pay me for that. I'll help you do it. I want you to be aware that you're going to be disappointed in the results, right? That's the first thing I would tell somebody. You're going to be disappointed in the results, but if that's what you think running Facebook ads is, and that's all the value that you attribute, by all means, let me help you do it. Let me get you, set up the boost post. You're good to go. All right, so that's kind of the overview of this. I'm going to kind of continue to dial this in, hopefully add some more slides to it. I'm looking to maybe add a few ROI slides and just kind of show people like, hey, if you have this, this is what's expected. But with that, let me kind of stop talking here and open it up for some questions because yeah, I think we're kind of at that part. So if you have any questions specifically to this or hey, I'm working this deal right now and I'm trying to get something across the finish line, what do you recommend I do with this out of the other thing? Really, we can take the call any direction that you guys want to go. So Mike, you want to get started?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we're doing in, you know, in terms of my company and reaching out is trying to, and when I say that, I mean, Sean, what you've recommended is creating some of these more personal videos where you provide some scripts and you out there. Is this something similar, or rather is this more where we could say, listen, you know, you give us, you know, some before and after photos and, you know, and maybe a little bit of information about what, you know, what the process was, and we'll just create, you know, more of a commercial type of video for you, which, or is it kind of a hybrid? I mean, because I know there's only so much you can do, you know, with the budget that, you know.
Yeah. So what I like to do, and this is why, you know, listen, we've dialed in on a system that works, right? Literally every single client that bought the Quick Start system at this point has all gotten leads. Like, I've gotten feedback from everybody that are like, hey, this has outperformed cold outreach, outperformed Hillsburg method, outperformed this, that, and the other thing, right? So what we're basically trying to do is say, well, hey, if it's working for us, it's definitely going to work for our clients, and the same system, right? So, you know, essentially the reason that I want to do it this way, Mike, is you're going to become very familiar with the system because you are the system. How you run your ads and the type of videos that you have and the video sales letters that we're going to add in, and like all those components are what you would expect for your clients and what's going to be in your clients' campaigns when we sell them as the system, right? So as opposed to like let's just compare and contrast. You know, we are going to leave, because we do have some people that come to us and say, listen, we already have Facebook ads set up. We just want you guys to take over the campaigns, manage, you know, what do we do in there? We'll come in, we'll take over the campaign, we'll add some creative, you know, some of the videos that we use right now, we'll add those, but it's not going to be the same thing in the sense of like, okay, here's 3 different scripts, get these videos, get the right. It's just going to be more of like a month to month kind of like ad thing versus saying like, hey, we're going to do all this work up front and get this rolling. And that's why we bill and charge for it the way that we do, because we know it's going to work better long term if we can do all that work up front. But the challenge is that if you're only billing somebody $4.99 for the month, right, you do all that stuff, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I don't think I want to run Facebook ads anymore. Well, we lost pretty significantly at that part, you know. So that's basically the difference of like the system versus like, hey, we're just taking over this account, we're going month to month on the ads, you know. Yeah. And listen, we're willing to work with you guys in either way. I'm still going to make their ads work, because the reality is that my business, you know, we don't really sell long-term contracts. So my business depends on it working, right? And then, Josh and I talk about this all the time. I'm like, you are client retention, Josh. Like, if the ads are working, clients are going to sign back up the next month. If the ads are not working, they're not going to sign up. Like, it's very simple, right? Like, it's a simple formula. So, you know, we will put in probably a little bit extra work, you know what I mean, to make sure that they're working, because I do want to get to that second month with them. But again, it's just, especially in getting their head around it, it's more about just a mindset, a mind frame, right? It's about they're buying into this system. I don't want these guys canceling on you in 3 months, 6 months. I want longer term contracts, and just, you know, from just sales in general and just, you know, other niches and things that I've sold into and stuff, the more you can get somebody to buy into a system, the longer the commitment's going to be on it. You know, it's not going to be like, well, we'll try Facebook ads for a month and see how it goes. You know, it's like, no. So this is why you're committing to, this is how it's going to work month 1. This is the expected results month 2. This is expected results month 3. You know what I mean? And really, really pushing that concept really gets them, because, you know, then you come up on month 3, as long as we're showing some, you know, things are good. You know, let's say we have an account where it's like, you know, just hasn't really hit it yet, but we can see that the video views are coming and things like that. You know, people always ask for like guarantees and things like that, guys. The one thing that I'm willing to do on a guarantee front is to say something like, now listen, it has to be reasonable, right? Like, I'm talking about like, if someone's like, I just need a guarantee that I'm going to get a few leads out of this, right? Like, I can guarantee that. I'll never say you're going to get 26 leads per month if you spend this amount or whatever. It sets you up for fail, right? Because on some months I'm going to do 47, and on another month I'm going to do 16, and all they're going to do is ring my bell when I only get 16. They're not going to say, oh, last month you overperformed by 25 leads. They're only going to say, you fell short by 6 leads this month, you know? So that's why we don't do it that way. That's why we never sell it that way. But we can say things like, listen, after the first few, you know, after the first month, yeah, you should have 5 leads, you know, after this, like, keep it conservative, right? And what I do with people is I say, listen, if you buy into the system and after month 3, you know, it still hasn't really hit, and it's, you know, for whatever reason, it's not dialing in, we will extend the management for free for you to try to get you a few leads to try to get it dialed in, right? So you're getting them to buy in and commit to the system. And you're just saying, we stand by our product to say, if after 3 months, like we've gotten you like 2 leads and it's just really not working, but you see the value, you know what I mean? Like you still want to, you know, maybe we've only spent a couple $100 a month in spend on the ads, and we see that there's the potential for it to work. We changed up the creative. We're seeing positives. Then we want to go back and say, listen, we'll continue the management piece. We won't charge you for 1 month for the management to try to get this dialed back in. So just as like a back pocket thing, guys, if you ever need that guarantee, that's the guarantee that we'd be willing to stand by, so then you guys can offer that. Now, listen, you can offer other guarantees, and this is what I tell everybody all the time, right? Like people are like, well, I just want to offer them like a 5 lead, or I won't, you know, charge my fee. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, that's fine if you want to do that. But for me, if they don't get the 5 leads or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you're still going to get charged the fee. So it has to be, so I like to try to do it in aligned with you guys and just from what we've seen and what potentially works. Because really the reality is that if we do this system 3 months, I can almost tell you that we're going to have the lead volume to where I'm not concerned that we're going to have to do the offer, right? So that's number one when you make an offer, is you want to make sure that most likely you're not going to ever have to do the free offer. So number one, I know that. And number two, if after 3 months they haven't gotten it, just as a responsibility to the client and their money and their spend, I would like to try to help them to get it dialed in at that point anyway, right? So like just as being a good partner, and you know, you guys are selling them other services. I don't want it to be something where it's like it sours the relationship. So I think at least by being able to go back and saying, listen, we'll cap the spend at $500 a month just on your Facebook ads. Let us do some tweaks. Let us try to dial this in for another month or two. If it's not working, we'll agree that Facebook ads don't work for you, right? But use that as like a back pocket thing. Chris, let me jump over to you. Do you have any specific questions or anything you're working on right now that can help you get over the finish line?
Well, one of my questions is on the follow-up.
Yep.
You know, I was doing a Facebook ads with Zach, as you know, as we spoke about. So I'm just using that as a frame of reference because that's all I know.
Yep.
So what he was doing was, after you know, once the lead came in, unless they got back to him, he would text them for 5 days. Okay. I think. So how does that work with you guys? In other words, how does the follow-up work? And also, it's just until the appointment is booked, right? This is not post estimate close the sale. That's additional. That's an additional thing.
Yeah, yeah. So we so the follow-up, Chris, basically anything that we're capable of doing in high level, we're capable of doing here in terms of the follow-up. Okay, so if the client wants to do text-based, then we can do it text-based. Some clients are going to want to say, hey, I just want to get the person's email. I have one client that says, I hate texting and emails. I only want people that call. He's a lawyer. He's old school. So we run call only for him. You know what I mean? So I think it's, and we have, you know, in his call only, we have one thing that does like the voicemail dial thing that'll do a voicemail drop from him and then encourage them to call like a specific number line that we can track. You know, it's a call number. So what I would say is just, you know, anything in terms of how they would want to do it. I think that's appropriate. I think a text every day, 5 days, you know, I would probably mix that up a little bit. So I would say maybe give them a text message, give them an email, you know, and then have some sort of like a drip sequence attached to that, Chris, would be the way that I would do it. And the other thing is eventually what I think you're going to want to do is with some of these leads, you want to put them over into whatever you're doing in high level or, you know, whatever you're doing for your agency marketing. So like, why would these guys not get, you know, your 2021 marketing or your webinar invites and things like that, right? So you want to get those into those other sequences that you have in high level just for other general follow-ups. But, you know, from the appointment side, you know, we can set that up, and then we can also set up the appointment engine. So if they miss the call, and it's like, hey, you missed your call, but you know, here's the reminder, here's your reschedule link and all that kind of stuff. We build that into all these systems. So it really just depends on how far the prospect wants to take it, Chris. But you know, any and all those capabilities are built into this.
So basically that's included. That's not, just so I know how to price it.
Yep.
That's included with the management, and then they have they can choose what what medium to do it in, whether or not they want to do email, whether or not they. But how do you capture the email from the landing page?
Yeah. So
Okay.
email will be the landing page or a Facebook form fill.
Okay.
Different ways that we're doing that.
Okay.
And then same thing from the text message and stuff. And again, I think it's something that you tell your customer that you try out different things. You know, some people
Sure.
are really mobile adverse. They don't want to give out their mobile number.
Mhm.
So, you know, if you have somebody that's like, hey, I want to do a text only campaign, the challenge with that is that we see, Chris, on average, it's about, even when people say like enter your mobile number, most cases they're just putting in like a whatever number. They're just trying to get through the page. So if we get
Sure.
50% that are actual mobile numbers, I mean, even when I do a campaign like this, you know, this is for my own clients. And I think I only had like 70% correct mobile numbers. I had to like go back and get everyone's like mobile number. So, so I would just leave it up to the client and just say, hey, listen, what we see is a mixture. You know, if someone's really committed into, what's your niche again, Chris? I'm sorry.
Masonry.
So if someone's really committed into a $15,000 masonry project, chances are they're going to give up their cell phone and their
Right.
you know what I mean?
It's almost like a qualifier.
It's almost
Yeah.
a qualifier. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would probably shoot for, hey, I want name, mobile number, and email, and then tell them we're going to hit them all on all channels to get the appointment booked.
Okay. And if you're following up to get the sale, because obviously follow-up's everything, that's an upsell. If I'm
Yeah. So I mean, like once it gets past the appointment, Chris. So if it's like, hey, we want a separate sequence that we're just going to drop them in, that's going to hit them for the next 3 months or something like that. That's where your upsell points would be. That's where your goal is, hey, they clicked on an ad. We're trying to get an appointment booked. That's the goal with this. But what you tell people is they say, listen, if they're not ready to book an appointment, chances are, 50% of the people that fill out your form and stuff like that don't want to book the appointment yet, which is normal. That's normal human behavior, but that's where you want to tell them. So what we want to do is we want to drop them into a secondary sequence. We want to put them into a newsletter. We want to just keep, because we spent the money to get the brand awareness. Now we get free brand awareness. Because if you send them a monthly newsletter, they're seeing your brand every single month and it's free at that point. You're not even paying for impressions. So I would kind of break those things up, but I would say, listen, our goal is to get them to get the appointment. For the ones that don't get the appointment, we put them into an ongoing, once a month for 6 months, they get a message.
And again, the 6 months they get a message is included.
That's that's not
okay.
Up to the appointment is what's included. Yep.
But what I'm saying is, if they haven't booked the appointment and you get nurture to them for 6 months, that's still before the appointment.
Well, I mean, what are you talking about in terms of nurture? Are you talking about us sending a message just to say book on the calendar, or like a?
Well, I mean, I'm just going by the example that you said, that some people aren't ready to book the appointment right away. It might take them a few months, and then you would, email them for a few months. That scenario, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to set it up in high level where they would keep getting a nurture appointment, I mean, we can set that up and just say, hey, once a month they'll get, hey, reminder, if you want to book an appointment with us, we can do that. Right. That's fine. I wouldn't be customizing messages, is what I'm saying at that point. I'm not going to create a 6-month sequence for you to try to chase somebody down within this program.
Okay. All right. I got you. And as we go on, it's the type of thing, it's practice. As we have campaigns, I'll learn what's I can't ask all the questions now. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I have to.
And again, this is where it kind of blends with like, what do we do as opposed to, again, the sales training, Chris, this isn't what someone's paying for, right? This is me making it easier for you guys to sell and do things like that. So I always just want to be clear about that, just because like sometimes it kind of like, especially when you try to do more for people and you're like, hey, I have this cool sequence that I used for my Acumen agency. I have those resources.
Gotcha.
As a mentor and shit like that, I'm willing to share all that kind of stuff, but it's not, that's not in the 2,400 that you're paying, right? Like what you're paying for is the Facebook ads and the management. Everything that I do on the side of that is to make you successful, basically. Because the more successful you are, the more successful I'm going to be. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
But what I would definitely what I would do with that scenario, Chris, is I would say, listen, because again, you want to go with what's going to work, right? If you don't want to just desperately send somebody like 3 months after they filled out a Facebook ad, like, hey, do you want to book an appointment with me? They're kind of like, they'll be like, I don't even know what you're talking about at that point, you know?
Sure.
So what I would say is, you know, you spend probably the first 2 to 3 weeks real aggressively, 5 touches, 8 touches, you know, whatever
Gotcha.
the frequency that they want to do. And then post that is where you would say to your client, we need to put them into a long-term marketing campaign. So as with your
Right.
client, that's where I would then turn around and say, so listen, so have you ever thought about doing a newsletter? Have you ever thought about, because, you know, Chris, that's something that you could easily turn around, get the content written by somebody, outsource that, do a $50
Right.
content writing on that, and do like a you know, a quarterly system for $2,500 to manage their email for them or something. It's going to be all profit.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So
Gotcha. It's a separate.
it would just be a
Gotcha.
separate thing. That's just a long, like
Gotcha.
that's like an ongoing marketing
Long-term
to
version.
somebody versus a
Okay.
short-term,
Short-term.
hey, get them the
Gotcha.
get the appointment.
Understood. Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sean, one other thing I'm thinking about in terms of when you're working with people who, you know, we're doing a lot of video, how do you get by the people who say, well, listen, I don't want to be on video myself. I don't feel comfortable, all that. I mean, do you recommend getting a spokesperson, going on Fiverr, having someone do that?
Yep.
I mean, what's the best way to get around that?
So we're working on that right now. That would be the recommended practice. So there's 2 things that we're going to do with that. The 2 things that we're going to do is, and everyone's going to see some new ads in their campaign soon. Mike, Leonie's working on yours right now, but we're basically going to take the scripts and anything that's a scripted video. We're going to also convert that to like a video sales letter. So it's going to be the thing where like the words are just coming across the screen, and there's going to be some pictures and images mixed in and stuff like that. Right. So, you know, cause honestly, that's our biggest challenge is we say, hey, we need all these assets, and we get 1, we get 2, you know what I mean? Like, and it's really difficult sometimes. So that would be number 1 is we're just going to do that. We're just going to do that as part of the campaign, because again, the more that we do, the better off the campaign's going to run, the longer the clients are going to stick around, right? So we're just going to start doing that by default, just to kind of get that. The other thing that we would do is recommend that. I know one thing that Josh has been looking into right now is just trying to come up with a couple Fiverr resources that we'd be able to share with you guys, almost as like a link, and say, hey, if someone's looking for a video spokesperson, go to this person. They have a great team for it. It's this cost, you know, pass through the cost, you know what I mean? Like just show your clients. So, but the other thing that we found is like a couple times I'm like, you know, if Chris were to say something like, oh, I need this, I'd be like, oh, Chris, go on Fiverr and do this. Well, it's not just as easy to just go on Fiverr. Like, who am I looking for on Fiverr? Who do I want on Fiverr? How do I do that? So we're trying to, as we go here, find some good ones, and then just be like, hey, like kind of like what I do with my guy for the email building list. Just be like, listen, they do a great job. Pay him directly. I'm not charging you for it. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like it's your thing directly, but that's what I would recommend that you do with your clients. And listen, if you guys, how you want to do that with your clients is completely up to you. If you were to turn around and say, I want to handhold this client a little more, I'm going to pay for the Fiverr resource and I'm just going to add $250 to their bill, you can do that too. You know what I mean? It's really however you think is the best way to do that. But yeah, I would recommend if the person's not, and to be honest with you guys, I would recommend that almost if it's like, you know, we had somebody, I won't, you know, somebody actually not in the 7-figure agency group, but like in a nutshell, they were working with like, you know, kind of like, you know, custom motorcycles and things, you know, and like different things like that. Right. And the owner like couldn't get through 5 seconds of a video without like sweating on the video and like being nervous, you know what I mean? Like literally like was having a panic attack every time, you know, it was trying to do a video. Well, we went on Fiverr and we found this like, I don't know, like 40-some-year-old attractive woman, biker looking chick, you know, and we had her do the video spokesperson and the ads are slaying right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, so you look at something like that where you almost have to like know your people a little bit. So like if you see that like, hey, you know, because just because we get them to do the video doesn't mean the video is going to be effective, right? Like that part A is just getting them to do the video. Part B is, well, is it a effective video or is it someone, you know? So I would keep that as back pocket, but yeah, video spokesperson, you know, having a spokesperson definitely, because the videos are important and we can get around it with the video sales letters, but they're not always going to be engaging as a person talking head.
So that's something that's good just knowing what to be prepared for with, discussions up front.
Yep.
They will have to, because I was just talking to a guy. I think he's going to come on. You don't, until the ink is dry on the agreement, you don't, count your chickens before they hatch.
Yep.
But, he was saying the type of thing like, this isn't the type of thing where, I'm paying you and I'm going to have to be doing everything. Right. And I said, no, I mean, that's something that we, it's what you're paying us for, is to set up your campaign. But these are specifics that it's helpful to know going forward. They will have to do their own. They will have to do video on their own.
Yep.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah. And listen, do they have to do it, Chris? No. Right. So I can run Facebook ads with just sizzle ads and just, you know what I mean? Like, and
right.
we
Okay.
success with
okay.
It, right. What I tell people is that if I if I start your campaign and I have no video testimonial, it'll still run. It'll be more effective if I then add a video testimonial.
Yeah, I want to make it effective.
It'll be more effective if I add this, right? So that's kind of the way that you kind of communicate with the client, is not to put like so much of like an onus on them, like, hey, if you don't do all this, none of your ads are going to work. What we talk about is your ads are going to work. We just focused on getting them better, right? So like even with you guys, Mike, we have our initial content and things like that. Right. We're going to start putting out topic wheel stuff, where as part of this, what I want you guys to do is like, let's say like we really cover like, the AI portion of like how Facebook really uses the AI to not only say like, hey, this person might be a possible prospect, but like Facebook uses the AI of like your previous engagement. So like, did these people click on previous Facebook ads before or not? Like, is Mike Goldstein someone that takes action on Facebook or not? Like history can show us that, right? History can show that of the 412,000 ads that Mike got shown, he's clicked on 3 of them. Well, is Mike a good prospect to show ads to, or is he a poor prospect? He's probably a poor prospect, right? And that's all like the Facebook AI. So what I think I want to do is, as part of this, and especially because like you're really selling, everybody that's selling Facebook ads or selling Facebook ads to their client as a thing, is to start using little videos like that and start doing like 30-second nuggets and being like, hey, so real quick, the reason why that this happens, or hey, have you ever had this happen on Facebook? Let me explain to you why that's working that way. Or, oh, did you ever, the one time you Googled a restaurant and then later that night you saw an ad for Facebook and it had the thing, like, how did that work? Let me break that down in 15 seconds for you, right? It's pixels, just things like that you can kind of, because what we want to do is we're going to start to, at a certain point, Mike, once we start to get to like 2.5, 3x video views, that means the same person has video viewed you 2.5, 3x times. It's going to start to become stale. It's the same thing they're going to start to hear. So now what we want to be able to do is, again, use that AI to say, wait, this guy 3x'd Mike's primary video. So now we're going to throw him in the topic wheel stuff. So now that person, they're not going to see that, hey, there's one way that outperforms all other ways. They're going to see, hey, this is a piece about this, and you're just going to create authority, and hopefully they'll bite on one of the conversion ads. Because what they're getting at that point is they're getting retargeted with additional video view ads, but they're also getting targeted with conversion ads at that point, because they already been through the phase.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
So Chris, to answer your question, and this is why I want to do these calls, guys, because, homework for me, checklist, what I want to do is I'm going to come up with a 1 single sheet slide that's going to say our responsibility and your responsibility as the client.
Perfect.
Right?
Awesome.
And then I'll make ours look really, really big and, all this stuff that we do. And then theirs is going to be like, record 30-second purpose video. Get us customer testimonial and get us before and after image. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Very simple list on, so to answer your question, like, oh, well, how much work do I have to do? Well, here, let me send you this guy. And then you just break it down. So 3 things. Can you get me a customer testimonial? Oh yeah, I have a lot of happy customers. Can you get me before and after photos? Yep, we take those all the time. Can you record a 30-second video for me? Oh yeah, no problem. Boom, you just got their commitment, right? And you make it seem super easy on their side.
Gotcha. I just realized my video wasn't on. I apologize.
No worries, man.
But I just had a guy, you get all types of customers. I just had a guy, his attitude was, you're not going to make me do, you're not going to make me do stuff, are you? They're not all going to be like that. He's, everybody has their own issues, and most people will be happy to do whatever they need to do to be successful and make money.
Well, and Chris, what I would do with that guy, just as because people sometimes do that just as like they're pouting their chest. Oh, I'm too busy. I don't have time for that. Blah blah blah. Listen, I'm busier than anybody that ever tells me they're too busy. So I don't believe in too busy. I have I have interest in 4 businesses. So too busy to me is like, yeah, you're complaining. But what I would tell with somebody in that is I would say, well, listen, I totally get it. You're probably super busy. You're just like me. You're super busy. This is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to ask you to do a minimal amount of work up front here, because I know based on my experience and based on history and based on delivering results that this is going to help you get a better result. I'm going to lay out for you what I need in terms of your commitment to get going with this. If you feel that it's too much, I totally get it, but we're probably not a fit to move forward. I would say something like that, right? Because then they're going to be like, well, what are you talking about? Like, what? And you'd be like, no, I'm talking about like, I'm going to provide you with a script. I need you to pull your cell phone out and record me a 30-second video. I'm going to do this. I need you, you know what I mean? And well, yeah, no, I can do that stuff, Chris. So you kind of break their barrier down.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do with people. It's like they come hard to you, is I come hard back, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, maybe this is just not, I did that with somebody and they signed up like literally because they were trying to like beat up on price and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, listen, I'm like, the program's not a fit for you. I'm like, but listen, join the sales training. I'll let you do that for free. I'll let you do this. Chris, I hung up the phone within like 14 minutes. I got a ding. They bought the program in full. You know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes you almost have to like challenge.
You should have said now it's double.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now you can't use your discount. So, but yeah, so that just for this one specifically, that's what I would do is I would say, listen, it's my job to make this as easy as possible.
Yeah, right.
But I do need you to do some work to make it successful, because if not, you're going to have mediocre success. And I don't want you to have mediocre success. I want you to have great success,
Sure. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I would do that with him. And then, and guys, listen, so, continue to use Workplace, continue to use that community, post up stuff. We're actually going to create within the Workplace, we're going to create a sales training community. So everyone that's participating in these calls. So it's not just going to be like you and the White Label Ad Factory, but you're going to be able to talk to Chris and Chris talk to Mike and, kind of create a mini community within our Workplace. Sure. So throw questions up there. I'm going to monitor that as much as possible. You guys know you can always hit me on Messenger too. So, if you didn't get a quick response on Workplace, just know I have like 17 different logins. So hit me on Messenger, and it's like you did like over the weekend, like, hey, just so you know, there's this guy. I'm like, perfect. That just alerts me and I can jump in. So,
hey, by the way, did you ever find out anything about the video that Alan was talking about? I'm just curious what that was all about.
Dude, I have no idea. So I'm supposed to talk to Alan later this week. So I was going to just ask him. But the only thing I can think of, Chris, is it's probably something like, it's probably an overview video of what Alan does, right? So like, imagine if you were to create a sizzle video that's like 3 minutes long. That's like, hey, what we do is we do this for kitchen remodeling, and you have your sizzle video effect. Yeah. What he probably does is has one frame on the front end that that customizes it. So he probably puts in the website, a picture of the website, puts in the customer's name, puts in everything, and then just runs it. So it's probably one frame of the same video that he just changes the front end. That's the only thing that I mean, because I was trying to think of in terms of like, well, what would make sense as like a tool, and like as a tool, I think something like that would make sense. But I've just never seen it, so I just did Josh respond back at all? Did you get anything back?
No, he didn't know either. I mean, and unfortunately, Alan doesn't have a portfolio or anything up on his website, so I no. One of his client sites, because he said he puts it on every site. So.
Well, like I said, I'm scheduled to actually talk to Alan, so I'll bring it up to him when I talk to him and just say, hey, I know, you mentioned this at some point. Do you remember? Because, and honestly, man, sometimes it's like, sometimes mentors will mention something, they try it for like a week and then it never took off, and then they never, you know what I mean? So like, that's why sometimes even Josh is like, I don't know if that's official coursework or if that was just something Sean tried 1 month, but so, but yeah, I'll see if I can chase that down for you.
All right.
Well, cool, guys. Well, good stuff, man. Well, like I said, let's use the community. I really, really want to do everything I can to make you guys successful in this, because, this is my investment into our sales team here is the way I look at it. And, anything that I can help. I mean, listen, guys, I can't, obviously do this all the time, but last week I jumped on a call and I helped somebody close a client. So if there's something where it's like the guy's right there and we just need one more 15-minute call to try to get them to close, if I can, provide assistance, just go on my calendar, book a, everyone has my calendar booking link, book a 30-minute appointment. Let's not go back and forth like, well, how's Tuesday at 10? And you know what I mean? Like, book something with the client and then just put it on my calendar and then just write in the note, hey, Sean, I need you to, wear your masonry hat on this call and help me close this guy. And, I can wear whatever hat you guys need me to wear on that day. So just let me know.
Sounds good.
All right.
That's awesome.
All right, guys.
I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
All right,
so
guys.
much. All right.
You.
Oh, and look
Thanks,
for your
guys.
email. We're going to send this. We're going to send the link to the recording, and we're going to send any assets. So that's what we're going to do. Post the call at about 2:00 that day. We're going to send the link to the recording, and we're going to send any assets that I use during the recording, so you guys have all those.
You posted on the workplace chat? Is that where you posted?
Yeah, no, we just do it in our high level follow up. So it'll just be another email and text link.
Okay.
I got you.
All right.
You. And also, Mike, I'll connect with you on Facebook, Mike. If there's any questions you have, just don't be a stranger.
Yeah, same here.
Good
All right.
stuff, guys. Awesome.
Okay.
All right,
Appreciate it. All right, guys.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Take care.